What are we expecting for the imports for Phantom Nightmare? You guys smash the link, crap out that subscribe button so you guys don't miss out more. I was going to start off over here with Flame Tongue, the blazing magical blade, and it just makes sense for Flame Tongue to be in this set because if you're honestly looking at like how Year of the Fire is going, Konami's going to want to support these decks in really the best way that they can. Having a monster that says literally, hey, your face up spells and traps cannot be destroyed, and hey, you know, you want a free banished fire monster that you can add back to your hand? That's excellent. I'll take that. I don't think that they're going to delay this. This just feels like the right optimal time to want to release this. You know what I mean? I think that this is probably going to be the highlight of the releases, unless Konami pulls something else we'll discuss later on in this video. But yeah, this card is, you know, if you want to move fire decks up a tier or two, or at least try to push them a little bit further, especially the Noid version, this card's going to help out massively with that. Next up is the Fire King Consort Yonics. Now, I know that the OCG is getting this card very, very shortly in March, and they don't actually have this yet. So if the DCG were to port this over, it'd be before the OCG actually got it. And I was kind of thinking about this. I was like, you know, as much as it would make sense for us to get this right now, they might wait till Legacy of Destruction to drop this on us. But on normal or special, you can destroy another fire in your hand or face up in the field to add a fire beast, warrior, or winged beast monster from your deck to your hand except for a copy of itself. And this card's level becomes the level of the monsters that you added, which is really good. And then if this thing itself is destroyed and sent to the graveyard, you can special summon a Fire King Garunix from your deck in defense position. This is actually a very, very solid card. I quite like the idea of what we could get with this, but considering the fact it's not out yet, I don't think we're going to necessarily see this ported in. Now, Chronicles Sorceress. This would, honestly, I would think it would make sense to save this for the Legacy of Destruction set, but Konami's never been one to follow trends and orders of things. So this is your Dark Spellcaster. It lets you get a effect based on the attributes of monsters in your graveyard. So you get one of them. So if you have a white, you can send a Blue Eyes White Dragon, or a card that mentions it from your deck to the graveyard, except for a copy of itself. I never really understood why we need to have that clause on it, that it can't dump a copy of itself, sure. And then in Dark, we can send a Dark Magician or a card that mentions it from our deck to the graveyard, except for this. And you can only use the effect of Chronicles Sorceress once per turn. You know, it's cool that they give both of these attributes the ability to kind of have this card bridge the gap, but this also, once again, feels like they should save this for Legacy, but we could very easily port it over now and get it out of the way. Now we gotta get into the jump stuff. Terminal Offering. Now, I'm gonna say this. I love this card. I think this card's very cool. But Ultimate Offering is still the absolute amazingness. So, keep in mind this was during your main phase. You could pay 1,000, and then you can conduct up to 3 normal summons or sets this turn, not just 1. And then during your opponent's battle phase, you can pay 500. Immediately after effect resolves, you can normal summon 1 monster. Now, realistically, you know, 3 normal summons is not amazing at all. Actually, I'm quite disappointed with that being the buff effect. There was so much more that they could have done with this, but it just kind of fell to the wayside as a little bit of a disappointing card. But as a V-Jump promo, this is within the realm of expectations for mediocre, for sure. Like, they do not disappoint. And then we have the Mystic Potato. Yeah, this card sent people crazily down the line of insanity. So, if this card on the field is destroyed by a card effect and sent to the graveyard, you can special summon a dark monster with 1,500 or less attack from your deck in attack position, except for the Mystic Tomato. Now, y'all remember Cyberstein, right? Well, we were finding about 10,000 ways to bring out Cyberstein with this card alone. And for a V-Jump card to literally interact with Cyberstein was part of the reason why, you know, Stein kind of had to go back into a hole far, far away from the game. As much as I would have loved to have had this card during the era of Stein, It just functionally could not happen, and it makes sense that, times past, we can go ahead, we can drop the tomato into a core set, kind of call it a day. It's not like it's an amazing card anymore, but there's always hope. Then we have the Three-Eyed Ghost. Oh, man. This card is really, really kind of cool. So it's a level 3 dark zombie monster. You can send this card you control to the graveyard to add a level 10 dark monster from your deck to your hand. You can only use the effect of Three-Eyed Ghost per turn. Now, level 10 dark. I don't know if you pay much attention to that, but that counts out the Golden Lord. And that's really the only big thing I care about attempting to pull with Three-Eyed Ghost. This is one of those cards that was the V-Jump subscription bonus. 100% a gimmick card. And I mean, if you could just send it from your hand to the graveyard to search, I would suddenly be a lot more interested in this. But they didn't make it like that. You have to commit some sort of summon to this to get things going. And that's such a disappointment. And then, of course, we have Dandy White Lion. I think this is about time this can come out, too. But once again, this feels like one of those cards you could save for the Yugi set because of the way it interacts. So if this is sent from the hand or field to the graveyard, they killed this card by not allowing it to be sent from the deck to the graveyard. You can special summon 3 white fluff tokens, plan to win level 1, 0 attack, 0 defense in defense mode. And you cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck the turn you activate this. That's not a for the rest of the turn. It's a whole turn. They did not want you getting the ability to get quick access to anything out of that extra deck. And that is a wee little bit of a problem. But this was made to interact with Egyptian gods. They wanted the way to put a turbo monster on the field so you can go ahead and get your 3 tributes. That's gimmick. That's all it really was meant to be. Gotta love these V-Jump promos. And then we have Over Future Fusion. Oh, man. This also might be too early, but I think if it's the bill to be in here. So you can only activate, or you can activate one of these effects. Man, this card is so hyped. So we can reveal 1 fusion monster from our extra deck and send the one of the fusion materials mentioned on it, specifically by name, from your deck to the graveyard. And if you do, you cannot special summon monsters with that name, nor activate their monster effects for the rest of this turn. Wow. They were like, hey, we know what made Future Fusion good, but we're going to go ahead and just take that away from you. Or we can fusion summon 1 dark fusion monster from our extra deck by banishing fusion materials listed on it from your graveyard. The thing that they wanted this card to be able to do was Foolish Burial 1 turn, make it so that you couldn't use the effects of whatever you dump, and then on the following turn be able to go, hey, we can go ahead and get you that nice little fusion that you were working for. It's gimmicky. Brionic, the Dragon of Icy Malevolence. So this card was actually pretty hyped because we're like, Ice Barrier retrains. This is 1 tuner plus 1 or more non-tuner. On Synchro Summon, you could discard a card, target a card on the field, return it to the hand. Oh, okay, so... And then on Special Summon from the graveyard, you could discard 1 card, target a card on the field, return it to the hand. But you could use both of those effects once per turn, which was actually pretty cool. You just kind of got to figure out how in the world are we looping, all of this little insanity that they're trying to pull with this card. And that was like the biggest thing that I think people were looking at with this was, it's got infinite potential. But I don't know. The biggest takeaway, though, is if we're seeing Icy Dragon of Malevolence being dropped in this set, then the next question you've got to ask yourself is are we porting in Terminal World cards? Terminal World cards, each archetype got 4 with an alt art. And a few people are looking at this and they're like, they could very easily take 4 of those per set and jam them in and port them in. And it would also make sense that if we're going to import the Ice Dragons or Ice Barrier stuff, we could also port it in with Brionic and, patterns. We also have no idea what the TCG is doing with Terminal World at this point or how they're going to distribute it. But, like they did with the Duelist Pack, this seems like a pretty cool idea. You can also create some quarter centuries out of the high rarity cards. Seems kind of cool to me. So those are our expectation of imports for Phantom Nightmare. What do you guys think? Please leave a comment down below. Tell me what you guys think. See your beautiful faces back here later today, guys. Peace. patrons. Thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.